Well, good morning, everyone. How are
Morning.
you?
Good
Um,
morning.
I want to first I'll introduce myself, and then we'll go around round robin and introduce ourselves and our connection to the public theater. My name is Karen Ann Daniels. I'm the director of the mobile unit for the public theater, which tours plays twice a year throughout the 5 boroughs of New York. And usually it's Shakespeare. And so hence this conversation today. And I'm going to pass it over to Danaya.
Hi, I'm Danaya Esperanza. I'm in Tampa, Florida, and I've been in 3 public shows. 2 of them have been with the mobile unit, and I'm cast as Imogen in CYMBELINE in our next mobile unit, which will hopefully be happening soon.
My name is Stephanie Roth Haberle, and I'm in Montclair, New Jersey, where I live. And I did a production of Cymbeline 2 decades ago at this point, playing Imogen in the park at the Delacorte. And then, and now I'm going to play with Danaya in the mobile unit production of Cymbeline, playing the Queen and Belarius. So I'm very excited to come full circle with that.
I am Kate Burton, and I'm in Los Angeles, California. And 5 years ago in 2015, at the Delacorte in Shakespeare in the Park, I played the Queen and Belarius, directed by Dan Sullivan.
Wonderful. Thank you all for being here to just hang out and have this conversation. As we stated that we were originally, before the COVIDs, we're planning to do Cymbeline this spring, and we're postponing that now, hopefully to the fall. And, I realized that Cymbeline is one of those plays that not everybody has either heard of or seen out of, Shakespeare's canon. So one of those things I'd love to talk about, but I also really love to talk about why Shakespeare is still something that we do, whether that's in the park, but it really feels like in the U.S. especially, we've kind of like taken our own ownership over William Shakespeare and attached ourselves to him in a very particular way. So I guess my question really is just, why do we all think that Shakespeare is something that has survived so much and I think so deeply in American life? One of those things I'd love to talk about, but I also really love to talk about why Shakespeare is still something that we do, whether that's in the park, but it really feels like in the U.S. especially, we've kind of like taken our own ownership over William Shakespeare and attached ourselves to him in a very particular way. So I guess my question really is just, why do we all think that Shakespeare is something that has survived so much and I think so deeply in American life?
There's several times actually in the past couple of years that I've seen productions of certain plays and I've said, this play should never be done again. And then I see another production, such as the mobile unit's Measure for Measure, and then I say, this play can only be done if it is done this way, because this reveals the truth in the play. Mm-hmm. And I think that's for me, that's why I do Shakespeare now, is to reveal the truth that he had to hide in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And that is so political, so relevant, and is easily hid because he was good at hiding it. But if we can find those truths that he was trying to tell society and tell us, and then if we can tell those truths, then I think that's the goal for me. That's the point of doing them. If we keep doing, like if we keep doing Othello and Othello keeps being the bad black guy, then we have to stop doing Othello, right? Like, how do we tell the truth of this, that, oh, this is really about how we see the other and how we make them into monsters. Like, what truth are we telling? Is it just to speak great language? No, I don't think so. And that's when every time I go, and I've learned that in seeing different productions and feeling like, oh, this just told me a new story. This just revealed something for me, as opposed to this is, you know, this is beautiful language, and it is beautiful language, but what is it really? What is he really trying to get at?
It's fun, you know, from the lens of like the mobile unit, when you're sitting in a mobile unit audience, to see how Shakespeare suddenly went from being like this thing, you know, your teacher made you do in school, or you heard about him, but then you thought, oh, the language is weird. But suddenly seeing the language and the action married right in front of you, how that all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is funny, this is amazing, or I've lived that moment in some way, right? Like that thing, to see people engage with him for the first time and really see, I think, all of these things that you're talking about, which is the humanity of it, and that, you know, we can really sort of place him in many different contexts, and suddenly he just is real to us, and those stories are real, which kind of makes me want to move into sort of talking about the play Cymbeline itself. When I go back in my brain to the first time I ever heard about Cymbeline, I actually thought, first of all, Cymbeline was a woman. Second of all, when I found out it wasn't, and then I found out that he's not really in it all that much, I was a little like curious as to why this play was even called Cymbeline. And then looking at this sort of history of female characters that he wrote, and engaging with the characters of Imogen, and then, you know, on the opposite side of that, the queen, we have these two very different stories that are happening. And I was thinking about it this morning. This may sound funny, but this is probably why I do the job that I do. But for some reason, I started thinking about the two Disney stories, the Sleeping Beauty and Snow White, and these characters, and sort of this opposition that is happening, and seeing sort of these interesting parallels in the relationship. So that's my weird brain. That's where I go to when I start.
I love it though.
But yeah, I mean, I would be really interested just to first sort of engage with the idea of Cymbeline and where it sort of sits in everything Shakespeare, but then also the importance of these two female characters in the story.
One of the things that when I was asked to be in the play, of course, I had never, you know, I didn't know it at all. And I was told I was going to be the queen. And I was like, oh, great. You know, I played a lot of queens. I could do that. and then I thought, and then they said, and then Dan said, oh yes, and there's this other part, you're going to be playing Belarius. And for some reason, because I hadn't read the play, I was like, oh yeah, Belarius, I'm sure he like brings on a tray in the second act. Oh my God in heaven. So anyway, so it's the double, and Dakin Matthews, who lives out here in California, he's a big, you know, Shakespearean scholar, worked with Dan a ton, and he said, oh no, that's the great pairing. Right. And started to inform me about it, talk to me. I went to see him in a play, and he started to talk to me backstage. And, you know, I loved playing the queen, loved her, but Belarius stayed with me. Oh my God, for so long.
Speeches are wonderful.
I love Belarius so much. And I love the queen too, but it was always so fun playing the queen, who basically, you know, disappears at a certain point, and then, you know, and then take over with this extraordinary man who, it was my first time ever playing a man. And just going back to Imogen for a second, you know, I always think of Imogen, Viola in Twelfth Night, and Rosalind, and As You Like It, as the, you know, the great, what do they call them, the trouser roles. You know, there's something so sort of epic to me about the fact that these parts were all first played by young boys, and we don't know who they were. We don't know their names. And it was a boy playing a girl, playing a boy. And that's so, and I think that's sort of incredible freedom that happens, Imogens, to you too, Imogens, with, you know, putting on the male clothing. What happens to you? It gives you extraordinary freedom. And it's also, of course, creates barriers, but it's always been revelatory to me. Of those three, I've only ever played Viola. But I find the character of Imogen so interestingly multidimensional. I enjoyed watching Lily Rabe every single night that she played it, and it's such a fantastic role. I mean, I think the parts in the play are so fantastic, and if you have, you know, a way to make it a little bit more manageable because it's so gigantic, it's such an incredible piece. It's an amazing play, and I cannot wait to see your production. Just saying. I'll be in the audience somewhere.
To this day,
One of the 5 boroughs.
I love it.
I also did not know Cymbeline before I did Imogen many years ago. And coincidentally, before I even auditioned for it, it was Andre Serban directed it. And I saw the production of the RSC that I think was at BAM. I think they brought it to BAM. This was 1998. I know always how long ago I did it and what year, because I was 8 months pregnant with my first son.
Yeah. Oh my God.
When I did it. And it was just, so it's just,
Wow.
will never leave my heart. Anyway, so I loved the production and loved the play. And I was like, I can't believe I've never read this or seen it. I knew, it was like going to a play this one isn't well known, but say you went and didn't know, like a Hamlet, and didn't know how it ended, you know, it was like a page turner to me. And
Yeah.
and so when I finally worked on it and everything, it became, and to this day stays, my favorite Shakespeare play.
I'm going to let us conclude there, and thank all of you for having this conversation. I feel like we could keep going for like another 20, 30, 40 minutes. And just,
Definitely.
So maybe we need to have a part 2.
Hours, yeah.
Terrific.
Thank you all again for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
here.
you.
And I look
Break
forward
the
to all
leg,
of
girls.
us back on the stage and on the road and just doing the things that we love.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
you all.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.